Have you ever gone crazy before? I have, once, and it was so much worse than I thought. To my shame, it was all because of a plate of vegetables. Yes, it's true, I once went completely insane over a plate of vegetables. Shortly after the 2018 Spring Festival, I shaved my head, leaving it uneven and resembling a dog's chewed bone. At the same time, I caught a severe cold and spent several days sitting in my bedroom, constantly blowing my nose by the window. Perhaps my dog-chewed haircut attracted too much attention, or maybe my loud nose blowing was too annoying. Whatever the reason, it made my family members very unhappy. In a fit of anger, I packed my things and left home. I didn't have much, not even enough to fill a backpack. On the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, I randomly picked a destination at the town's train station and bought a ticket. From childhood until then, I thought I only got seasick, but who would have thought I would also get motion sickness on a long-distance bus? Less than 5 minutes into the journey, I started feeling nauseous. With my conspicuous haircut and vomiting on the bus, I became the center of attention, attracting the passengers' curious gaze. Feeling like a monster, I even wanted to curse them. I put on my hood, hid my shaved head, and buried my face in a plastic bag to continue vomiting. I felt sick the whole way, and it was already noon by the time we reached our destination. As I stumbled off the bus, feeling weak and dizzy, I bent over and put my hands on my knees to catch my breath before I felt a bit better. When I raised my head, the sky had already turned dark. It was hard to believe. Had the world changed while I was catching my breath? Or had I been standing there for too long? At that moment, hunger overwhelmed me. My stomach was empty, and I could hardly walk steadily due to hunger. I quickly left the station to find a restaurant without thinking about anything else. There were many motorcycle taxis outside the station, and the drivers in this small town were particularly enthusiastic, almost forcing me to take a ride. I kept waving them off, saying I didn't need a ride, but they kept asking. Exhausted, hungry, and eager to leave, I shouted, "I don't need a ride. Can't you understand? I want to eat." My outburst took aback the drivers, and there was silence for a few seconds. Then one of them pointed me in a direction and said there was a restaurant there, and I should hurry to eat. I thanked him and, like a starving wolf, rushed towards the restaurant. It was mealtime, and there were quite a few people inside. Everyone had their luggage by their feet, and some hugged their bags. They were probably passengers who had just arrived like me. I found a seat and sat down, suddenly realizing my backpack was missing. I had no idea when it disappeared, whether it was on the bus, during a rest stop, or while arguing with those motorcycle taxi drivers. Nothing was precious in my backpack. I always kept my ID, phone, and earphones. The only thing of value was a notebook computer. After quickly considering my options, I decided to eat first and then search for my bag. The restaurant was a Chinese-style fast food joint, and the menu consisted of various noodles and stir-fried dishes. After enduring the discomfort of motion sickness, I only wanted something light to eat. When I placed my order, I asked the waitress if they could blanch some greens for me, charging me the price of a stir-fried vegetable dish, which was simpler and quicker to prepare. She apologized and said they had run out of greens for the day and didn't have any stir-fried vegetables left either. I sighed, feeling unlucky, and ordered eggplant instead, asking if they could make it boiled instead of braised, charging me the price of a braised eggplant dish, which was also simpler and quicker to prepare. The waitress agreed, and I thanked her. Sitting alone at the table, I couldn't help but wonder when and where. My backpack had disappeared. That black backpack had been with me for a long time. I carried it back from Europe to China, from one broken home to another indifferent one. It accompanied me through 3 years of high school and my undergraduate studies. It had been my pillow, protected me from the rain, and held my trophies and certificates from competitions. It had even been used as a bandage to stop my bleeding. It had been with me for so long that it felt like it had witnessed a whole phase of my life. Its appearance had been washed out, and I wondered who would want to steal such a worn-out bag. The waitress brought my food, and it was a plate of braised eggplant, not boiled as I had requested. I stared at the plate of braised eggplant and asked why it wasn't boiled. Didn't they promise to make it boiled for me? Why did they bring braised eggplant instead? The waitress explained that another table had ordered braised eggplant, and the chef had made extra, claiming that braised eggplant was tastier and went better with rice. I said I didn't want it and asked for boiled eggplant, not braised. They shouldn't have substituted one for the other. I couldn't eat braised eggplant as if it were boiled. The waitress tried to convince me that they were both edible and that braised eggplant was even tastier. It had meat in it too. Besides, they didn't have boiled eggplant on their menu, they always made eggplant this way. I firmly refused, raised my voice, and said, "They are completely different dishes. I don't want something flavorful, I want something light. I don't want to braise, I want to boil. Why can't you fulfill a customer's request?" Despite feeling dizzy from hunger, I put on a show of overturning the table. Stubborn and angry, I kept asking the waitress why they brought me braised eggplant. I almost grabbed her before being pulled back. After that, I grabbed the collars of a few other customers and asked them if they had seen a black backpack. I cried. And made a scene, behaving like a madman. This was all recounted to me later by someone present that day. I only remembered a few lines of dialogue from when they brought the wrong dish, and everything after that was blank. Even hearing their description shocked me, as it was something I couldn't believe I would do while conscious. The experience of going mad is like losing control of oneself, losing rationality, and being manipulated by something else, leading to a series of irrational and uncontrollable actions. To this day, I still can't accurately describe what took over me during that time. However, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise.